evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to, the one, the only Rum Boys Fantasy Network. I'm your host. It's your boy, Rum Boys Robbie. I want to really quick remind everybody, go ahead, off the top of the show, spike the subscribe button. Let's go ahead and hit the subscribe. Let's hit the like button as well. Turn that gray thumbs up into a blue thumbs up. And also, engage, dive into the live chat. This is Business and Brews. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, for Business and Brews, we have a special guest with us. Today's special guest represents a very prominent, very well-known, prestigious publication in the world of sports, okay? Not just in the world of fantasy football, but sports overall. I mean, the things that these guys do is incredible, and we actually have one of these staff members from this publication on with us. Ladies and gentlemen, representing the Athletic, Eric Moody.
No, I'm getting fired up listening to that intro. Hey, I appreciate all the kind words and the invite, Robbie. Hey, happy to be here, talk fantasy football and just the industry in general, my friend.
Absolutely, brother. You and I, we've before on my old account, we were following each other, and now following up on the new account. We've been following each other for a hot minute. I first off appreciate all the work that you put forth in the industry, and especially like really opening up the door for a lot of us out there that I'm gonna just say it straight up, like look like me. So to be able to sit down with you finally, brother, it's been a long time coming.
Yes,
it's amazing. You showed me love without me ever reaching out to you. It was just like you just gave me a follow, and then from just that genuine follow, it turned into a couple of DMs, and now you being on the show. So I just respect you for being so humble and being just an amazing damn person, bro.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, my whole mantra has just been, I guess the best way to put it is just treat others the way that you want to be treated. And it's funny where you mentioned like with the direct message and just the contact that way. It's because it all kind of got started, which I know we're going to talk about this a little bit, but it triggered my memory because just like everyone else out there, I'm like, love fantasy football, love playing the game, and you really get into it. Like once you're playing, and you get competitive too. It's like, hey, I want to take down this league, and so I ended up kind of getting introduced to fantasy football that way, very competitive and playing. And I remember sitting there, I drafted a team. This was like the season after I won the championship in my home league that I was a part of. For where I was wondering, I was looking at this team, I was like, oh man. I was like, I don't know what I think about this team. I don't know if he's going to be able to compete. You kind of have that doubt kind of creep in. And so what ended up happening, I reached out via email to another very well-known analyst. This individual will not be named.
Yeah.
Will not be named. And so I sent like a well-thought-out email, a screenshot of my team and hit send. Never heard that. Never heard a response. And so it really kind of triggered something in me where I was like, you know what? I'm like, all these things that some of these other writers or analysts are doing, I'm like, I'm already kind of doing that stuff. I'm just not trying to help like the masses. And so that was really the catalyst for me to get on Twitter, and for where it's like, leave no tweet like unresponded, no matter how long it takes, answer every single start-sit question. And that was really kind of the birth of me getting involved in fantasy football. Twitter was really around, I just wanted to answer everyone's start-sit question and help, where I could, because some of the bigger names, as I know now, after being in the industry, it's like they probably get so many messages they can't respond to every single one. But I was like, that was kind of my way to get my foot in the doors, for where I just want to answer every single question that's out there and not leave anyone that was in that position that I was in thinking, okay, I'm not getting kind of the help I'm looking for. So again, kind of long-winded, but it really triggered that response that I want to share with the listeners here.
No, absolutely. I mean, you and I, we were talking right before the show. You came in about 6 years ago. I came in about 3 years ago, and we both have that same belief to interact and to be able to say, hey, you had this fantasy question and I was able to help you. It's a really good feeling, especially, in a time period where you and I were coming up a couple of years ago. That was not the popular thing. A lot of these bigger guys, when the quote unquote industry begun, they were all on the network channels, and you were reaching out to these cable personalities or these Spotify personalities, and now Twitter has made it to where we can all really connect amongst many different levels, many different you can talk to someone that's been in 3 years, you can talk to someone that's been in 6 years, and you may or may not get the same advice across the board, but at least you're getting high quality advice, and you're getting that advice, off of experienced guys. And it's coming from a place of that we just genuinely want to do this. We just genuinely care. I wanted to get into your road path towards getting in with the Athletic, but before we do that, I do want to remind our viewers really quick to download the SportsMe app. You could go ahead to getsportsme.com. It is available on both iOS and Android. Eric, I'm going to have to send you an invite. You can hop in the app. You mentioned, giving people advice. This is a great way for you to give people fantasy advice. But I recommend everybody getsportsme.com. Get the SportsMe app, available on both iOS and Android. You can bounce different opinions off of many different industry analysts, such as myself and many more. Clock management's on there. Real Deal Fantasy's on there. So many more. Get in on the SportsMe app, ladies and gentlemen. All of your favorite sports across all of your favorite leagues in one giant sports community. Moody, I wanted to go ahead and keep it rolling now that I got the ad out the way and I paid some bills. I kept the lights on here in the studio.
There you go.
Right. I mean, if I don't pay the bills, wife ain't gonna be happy, How did you end up with the Athletic? And I've always, wanted to know this in our time following each other. How did that come about? What path did you have to take? What adversity did you have to overcome? Those are the really nitty-gritty questions that, for someone that's best to be in a position like you, that the viewers that are trying to get there want to know.
Yeah, no, I can touch on that, and I kind of gave everyone a prelude with kind of that story about how getting involved, like in Twitter. And so my whole mantra was just I love helping people. I've always enjoyed doing that. If I can give someone some advice or help them with something, it's just natural for me to do that. And so that's what kind of led me to answering all those start-sit questions. And so just by being
that value.
Yeah. And so just really by being involved, like in fantasy football Twitter, that in and of itself opened doors, because some folks in the industry would look at those tweets and they would just ask, I'm like, have you ever thought about writing? And so it was one website I had a chance to write for, Fantasy Football Locker Room. That was kind of my first opportunity. And kind of my whole mindset was that I just wanted to just create as much high quality content as I could. If I were to get good feedback, and implement that feedback quickly in order to improve. And so what ended up happening is that opportunity or that role with that website kind of opened up a door to write for Fantasy Pros. And then at that time, I was always a huge fan of RotoViz and their apps and what they do over there. And so I just emailed RotoViz. I emailed Frank, Fantasy Douche. I guess someone's holding onto his Twitter account now. Hopefully the king will come back. But it was good because I had a chance to write with them. It really accelerated my learning curve, because Frank would always provide very good feedback. Likewise with Sean Siegel. So I consider those two really instrumental.
I know Sean,
Yeah, I'm really good feedback. He's a really good editor on how to position things, stats to include, just a different way of looking at things. And so Fantasy Pros, RotoViz, those were opportunities that were there. And then that just kind of expanded from there. I contributed to Dynasty League Football there. I'm thinking of another site, Gridiron Experts, I contributed there. And so you just get to know people organically, because my whole mantra, again, I want to create as much high quality content as possible and still interact on Twitter. During the season, if I'm up at 1 or 2 in the morning, I'm responding to start-sit questions. I'll just hashtag fantasy football and just look for questions, and I'll just kind of chime in and answer. And so that was by doing that, I was able to build up my follower account and just kind of build like a name for myself. But as far as the Athletic, to kind of answer your question, then we'll kind of pivot into like adversity, that sort of thing, is what ended up happening. I remember when the Athletic launched, and I was like, man, this site is great. I'm like, they got fantasy, they got all these beat writers and everything here. Everybody's talking about this. They had this crazy launch of like their team, like Jake Seeley, and Nando and all these other people. And so I was just like, man, that's a heck of a team they're building. And I just emailed Nando. That's what I did. I just
reached out, just like, dude, like,
yeah. I was just like, hey, love what you guys are building here. I'm like, if you have any openings to add on other writers, please like keep me in mind.
Yeah.
And so like Nando, it's funny because he's got a really good memory, and so he doesn't really forget things like that. And so what ended up happening, there was an opening or an opportunity there for someone to cover a lot of advanced metrics, analytics, kind of similar stuff that I've written about and done, like at RotoViz. Oh, there's Troy right there.
Yep,
What's up, Troy? And that just kind of opened up the door, because I was also writing at Fantasy Data at that time, had a lot of articles and things that were coming out actually around kind of this time of the year. And so he just reached out, just sent me an email saying, hey, we'd love for you to come on board. So I just had a phone call with Nando and Brandon Function, kind of get to know each other, trying to learn a little bit what they're looking for and if I'm a good fit. And then it just kind of took off, from there. And so this will be the third season with them.
Yeah, and I love that everything that you guys are doing over there. I've gotten to meet, I've gotten to get to know you a little bit. I've gotten to know Greg a little bit down there, covering the Tampa Bay Bucks. And it's just amazing to see how a brand can, how you said, you were still at that kind of time, not green, but still green. You didn't know. No, I don't think that anyone knew that back then, 3 years ago, that the Athletic was going to take off the way that it did. The way that and become what it became. And I wanted to shout out to you, because for you and many of the other guys that I've got to know over there, to be able to have the intuition, this is beyond fantasy football. This is beyond covering sports. There is a certain business intuition that you have to have, and this show is called Business and Brews. In order to gut feeling say, I'm going to align myself with this product, and I think that this product is 100%, beyond reasonable doubt, going to take off, and I'm going to invest my time, my energy into it, and my passion into it. And I got to shout you guys out for being able to make a conscious decision early on in your careers that honestly reshaped the rest of your careers for a long time to come. Not everyone has that gut feeling, and if everyone had it, it'd be something that everyone would do. And what I picked up from what you just mentioned is that you bet on yourself. You were like, I'm just going to reach out to Nando, and we're just going to see what happens. Like, hey, just keep me in mind. If you don't keep me in mind, but just keep me in mind, and that's what I picked up from it. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, I think you're right, because if it's something that you want, something that you're looking for, just ask. I know it's a lot of different ways to go about it. Some will network. I do a little bit of that, but I just want to be able to have like a body of work to show someone. Because the reality is, a lot of these sites, if you want to write for them, they're going to ask, okay, what content do you have out there? What's your Twitter handle? Send me some samples, like audio, video, that sort of thing. And just having that body of work, to be able to show helps. But then what I've noticed over time is for where I'm like, it's easier to kind of stumble into those opportunities for where I'm like, you've been active in the space for a while. So I would say consistency is something else for like, okay, hey, this guy's been around for, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. He's not going anywhere, because I have just noticed over the years, some that have been like in the space, and you get that tweet that comes out. Now everyone has their own reasons, so for where they're stepping away. So no shade or anything there, but it's just like you'll see names, you kind of come and go. But early on, I just made the commitment for saying, hey, I want to be part of this space. I want to be successful. And then I look at it as I'm looking at like Mount Everest, for where I'm at the bottom. I'm going to grind my way up to the top of that mountain. And I still have that mindset because I'm by no means exactly where, I want to be. Like I've talked about this on Twitter just for fun, and I'll state it again, here on the live stream is for where, I had an opportunity. Oh, go ahead, Robbie. My bad.
I was going to say, mama mentality has seemed to set in for you.
Yeah, and that just comes from my sports background. Like I played offensive line like in college, and so I just kind of have that mindset. Just grind it out, get better and just make it happen. But I was excited for at least going into this NBA season, to have an opportunity to write about fantasy basketball over at Rotoballer.
Nice,
and
nice.
So I reached out to them, and I'm just like, hey, I want to. Again, I love to write, something about fantasy basketball with you. And I had a chance to do that at The Athletic too for the preseason, but I'm able to do a column over at Rotoballer. So I would say like what the dream gig, at least for me personally, would be. And for those that are listening, you're like, you know what? I may need to reach out to them about that. Hey, email communication lines are open. I would say would be writing about fantasy basketball and fantasy football. All year round. So that's off-season content, in-season, DFS. The column I write over at Rotoballer specifically DFS, but I'm just like, it's topics and things to write about like all year long. But to tie it back to your question, it's really about, I would say, taking good feedback and implementing quickly. Because even in the corporate space, those that don't do well are the ones that kind of take feedback. It's in one ear and it's out the other.
It's out the other.
They never implement. They get better. They never get promotions. They never make the money that they want. So I would say implementation, implementing it quickly, the feedback, and just trying to create as much content, quality content as you can. I'll kind of close on this, and I'll kind of bounce it back to you. Is that again, this is where the football side of me comes out. Is for where I look at a lot of people that are in the industry like full time. That are working full time. So my whole mindset was that, what, I'm going to create like as much content as you do. I'm going to have it try to be as high quality as possible, but I'm still going to do that while working a 40-hour or more a week job.
Yes.
So I can just show that I'm like, hey, here's what I've been able to do with doing all this other stuff, because that's what I kind of try to benchmark myself against. And it's just kind of a motivating thing for me. But again, I'm very competitive. It doesn't come out like that all the time, but I'll just be very transparent as far as I'm very competitive.
Feel free to reach out and be like, hey, brother, like what are you working on? What's up your sleeve? Stuff like that. I mean, I'll always talk to you and share that. I like that because we need more analysts pushing each other. At the end of the day, and you alluded to this earlier. And I talked about this on a previous podcast. Mm-hmm. We chose that this was something that we were going to make a business out of. We chose that we were going to add the word industry to the end of fantasy football. Mm-hmm. And guess what happens when you put the word industry or business at the end or beginning of something? You now create a market. Mm-hmm. And now that market now dictates what is cool, what is popular, what is popping. And now you can't control that market. And so I like that you put out, it's just that hard work and that dedication. There's a clip by say what you want about him or whatever. There's a clip by Floyd Mayweather that I listen to every morning. It's a 3-minute and 5-second clip. And it's just him repeating hard work, dedication, hard work, dedication. I'm the greatest fighter in the world. Yeah, exactly. And I'm never going to I'll never forget when I met Matthew Berry outside of the Rose Bowl, and he told me he kicked some game to me. And I call it kicking game because I really feel like an OG kick game to me, And I come from Southeast DC, so I apologize to a different side of the industry. They may not understand what I'm saying by when I say kick game, but you're gonna understand what I'm saying when I say what I'm saying. I feel like he kicked game to me when he said, when I was at where you guys were, and I was only 8 months into the industry when this encounter happened. He goes, I knew that nobody could outwork me. When I was like back in college and I was, trying to get this up and running, I knew that no one could outwork me. And I knew that as long as I could just keep up with myself and just not look at anybody else, that it didn't matter. Now, of course, he was coming up in a time where there was not Twitter and so on and so forth. But that shit really hit hard. Like, it resonated, like you said. And when you said what you said, I was like, Mamba mentality. Kobe's one of my idols. Like, Mamba mentality. That is set in. The marathon had to continue for you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nipsey. It had to. You dug deep. You found something that wanted this more than whenever you looked around. I have to want this more than you. You're right now. You're performing like you want it more, but I have to keep up with you. I still got to do the 40 hours a day, still make my 401k, still keep my benefits, but still make sure that I'm kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. I mean, you obviously want the content to be, to be solid. You want it to be good.
Yeah.
But I would say something else that can help those that are out there that are starting out or thinking about starting out is treat it like a hobby. Not like a hobby. Treat it like a job and not a hobby. Treat it like a career, because if you're treating it like a hobby, then it's like, you know what, man, I don't feel like doing that article, man. I'm tired. I don't want to. I'll do it later. You have that mindset, then you don't get it done. For me, it's just like, I've got a personal deadline I got to meet. If I got to pound 2 or 3 cups of coffee and get 3 hours of sleep to get it done, I'm like, I don't want to miss that deadline, because I don't want, Nando or whoever the editors are, for where it's like, they're like, okay, I'm like, we got you here. And this goes for any site. It's like, we need to be able to depend on you.
Hey,
like, you need to be able to get it in. And so that, you got to have that mindset. I
gotta ask, brother, has there ever been a piece that you have lost sleep over? Has there ever been a story that you have had to track and that I'm probably going to get 4 hours of sleep tonight?
It's funny that you mentioned that. Like, during like the season, it's I would say some nights I get 2 or 3 hours. Like, I'll have to make coffee. Like, sometimes Nando and I'll trade messages. He's like, dude, get some sleep. It's like, get some sleep.
Bro, my staff is hitting me up. Hey, so I remember when one of the biggest stories that my staff ever worked was we had to have all hands on deck when the whole Antonio Brown situation was going on. Yeah. And like, everyone's like, can you take my shift? Can you take it was crazy. It was bad, bro. So like I had to ask. I was like, he's gonna know exactly what we go through, and like what we go through here at the network. And like, we're still up and coming. We eventually want to hit where you guys are at. Of course, we do things differently. But like I just had to ask, because you know what it's like. You know the life, bro. And once you start the life, it's not like you could just tell your wife and kids like, yeah, I just quit that and it's going away. Like, because once you're in, you're in. Like, there's no way out.
That's another point. That's another point that you mentioned, is for where it's because I've got 2 young kids. So I got a 9-year-old and I got a 5-year-old, and so it's and I always try to be creative to find time to to do podcasts and to write. And so like for me, it's like I would say from 9 p.m. to 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. Excuse me. That's like the golden time, like very like creative. I got my headphones on, got my music playing, got my laptop out or my desktop computer, and that's where I really make a lot of things happen. So
I am with that. I'm with that. Hey, sometimes you're like, hey, putt-putt's $5 today. We're all gonna go to putt-putt, and like you make that the best $5 putt-putt day ever. You ready to talk some fantasy football, brother?
Yeah, let's do it, my man. Let's do it.
Let's go. I mean, it'll be a little bit of fantasy meets reality. You know how the Rum Boys do. First things first, the Bears. We're actually going to pick on the Bears like once or twice throughout this episode. Damian Williams is now with the Bears. How does this impact David Montgomery in fantasy? And what are you doing with your Vontae shares at this moment?
That's a tough one, because I was tweeting about that with just the whole scenario, because you've got the arrival of Super Bowl hero Damian Williams. He should have been the MVP, in my opinion, that season the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. It does have a negative impact on Montgomery. Like, his biggest strength last season was opportunity share and snaps played. Like, he averaged 21 opportunities like per game last year. He played like 74% of the offensive snaps. And so you've got Damian Williams that's coming in. I think he's 29. And I don't think they're bringing him in necessarily to be a backup. He is going to be part of this committee. But on top of that, you got Tariq Cohen that's coming back. And so
Yeah.
both of those two individuals are going to negatively impact Montgomery's opportunity share. And he wasn't really the most efficient running back last season. I think the last 4 or 5 games, I'm like, his efficiency was much better. But I think a lot of that had to do with the matchup. So early in the season, you look at a lot of those efficiency metrics, it was not looking good. And so I really wouldn't try to move him at this point, because it's the equivalent. Like, if you're trading him at a discount. So you'd be better off just holding him, but you just need to rearrange and reset your expectations.
Okay. So I am going with, we're holding. We are holding Monty right now. And here's why. Right now, we do not know if Cohen or Williams is going to make the team. There's a chance that one of these two do not make the team.
Mm-hmm.
I need everyone out there in fantasy football land to understand this one principle. The tree out still got to happen, okay? Shout out to the longest yard. Shout out to my boss, Adam Sandler. My, like, around the way boss, kind of. But yeah, the tree out still got to happen. The tryout still got to happen. All of you that obsess over who's the next team that's going to be on Hard Knocks, this, that, and the third. You all remember the very first couple of episodes that we all love of Hard Knocks is when the Reaper walks around, and the Reaper walks around, and he knocks on your door, and he lets you know whether you made the team or not. You know, Moody, you get it. You said you played O-line. Me, I semi-pro. I played receiver. Hey, it's a thing. You have to try out. You have to get a spot in order to start, in order to have some stats. With that being said, and with that being stated, until Monty's going to be on the team, okay?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm more worried about the other two. And even still, I'm not worried about the other two affecting them. Now, do I still worry about Monty in the terms of where he could fall as low as RB24? Yeah, I think that could happen. I think when we look at this offense, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, the quarterback situation is not pretty. You know, there's still going to be a couple plays where you're gonna have to dump out the backfield because Dalton's going to be under duress. Period. Like, point blank in the story, he's Andy freaking Dalton. You know, he's going to be under duress. So with that being said, and with that being stated, I'm holding Monty right now with the caveat of a good offer, and it better be a damn good offer that I can, like, all right, I just read up. Like, I just got the bag. Unless you're about to get something that you can really mess with and you feel comfortable with, hold off.
Yeah, you got to hold him.
Got to know when to hold them. Know when to. All right, I'm done. Let's go ahead, and we're going to kick it back to the early 2000s. We're naming this segment Drake and Josh, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get into a little bit of Drake and Josh talk now. I accidentally, when I was on Real Deal Fantasy HQ show, shout out to the homie LQ last week, I messed up, and I gave a gut reaction when this news dropped. This is why I do not like responding to news when I'm simultaneously on air, because then that's like, yes, it's good that you go viral, but I might have went viral for the wrong reasons, and we'll discuss this here. Drake and Josh, how much does Kenny and Drake impact Josh Jacobs, Jingleheimer, touchdown Smith?
I'm like, a lot of people are looking at this. I'm like, some people think he'll have an impact. Others think he won't. But I think, first of all, I think he will have an impact. It's just the Grinch said, like in Jim Carrey, the audacity.
The audacity.
You know, to bring in Kenyon Drake, I'm like, to add to the committee with Jacobs, because they both have like an eerily similar like skill set. I'm like, they're both great runners, but they just haven't been used as a receiver out of the backfield much, and they're really going to cannibalize each other's value. And then on top of that, I'm like, you still have Jalen Richard, you know, that's there as well. And so I would just love for them to just allow Josh Jacobs to be the guy, but it's constantly other things that are kind of pulling at him that's going to take him away from really getting to that RB1 level. And so they signed him for a reason. He's obviously going to have like an impact. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it.
Yeah, I feel like there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. This is so if I'm gonna give very specific directed advice here. If you are the person, I don't know, like a Rum Boys Robbie. Oh, who would have thought I would have an example for this? Who maybe traded away their first round pick last year, um, to maybe get something so that they could be in a win now position for last year. You have now put yourself into a win now mentality. With that being said, if you are rostering Jacobs, then you should maybe see what type of value you can get. Maybe see if you can buy yourself back into the first. I'm prescribing buy yourself back into the first, high first, or even late first to see if you can get you. If you go late first, you're going to go Javonte Williams or Kenneth Gainwell, something around there, whatever the case may be. But if you can go early enough and you can get some value out of that, maybe you package Jacobs up with the wide receiver 2 or something and buy yourself back into the top half of the first round. Maybe you can get yourself an ETN or a Harris or something or the other. So that's what I'm specifically guiding around. You see anything wrong with that, or is that bad advice? Or
No, I don't think it's bad advice. It really comes down to like your team, how your team is built, and kind of what you're looking to do, not only in 2021, but over the next 2 or 3 years. And so it's easy to identify or say, hey, this person's a buy, this person's a sell. But I think your specific team and the structure has to play a part. So I don't think that's an issue. You want to try to get as much value as you can, but in some cases, you may just want to hold him. But it's tough because you're not going to get the value from Jacobs now that you could have received going into last season or before this news. I guess as Lex Luthor said in Batman v Superman, the bell has been rung. It has been rung. So you're not going to be able to get the value that you're looking for. But if you just want to move on from him, that it's not a bad strategy. Again, expectations.
I love the DC reference right there, by the way. That very, very strategic. Good. Applause for Moody in the chat. Applause for Moody. I love it. I love the fucking Batman versus Superman reference. Let's see here. Can Saxonville take it to the air? Now, when we ask this, we're gonna. Do you want to play a game, Moody? Would you like to play a game?
I'm always open to games. Always.
Let's go. I went like a little like jigsaw there, and I'm sorry that I channeled that inner personality. Rank the Jacksonville wide receivers: Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones Jr., DJ Shark, and then after you rank them, what does the future look like with Lawrence at the helm of this pirate ship? Well, Safari Jeep, I guess, because they're Jaguars. Yes. I don't know. I fucked that up.
Ooh, I like the no, I think the future looks bright. I would say if you're going to rank them, it's very close for me between Shark. I would still have Shark as the lead, and then Shenault, ranked number 2, and then Marvin Jones, 3. I think they just brought Marvin Jones in because he's a veteran receiver. He can obviously instill some additional old man wisdom, to Shenault and also to Shark. But I'm just really high on Shenault. I mean, he's in a prime position to break out. I mean, you've got Trevor Lawrence. We're just going to assume that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the guy, right? Yeah. But they're going to pick him up, so that the future looks really bright. Everyone knows about Lawrence's phenomenal collegiate career at Clemson, from 2018 to 2020. I'm like, this is a guy that finished like 4th in completions and 2nd in passing touchdowns in school history. I'm like, he's tethered now to Urban Meyer. He's a very creative offensive mind, and so I could easily see them installing some things that he's very comfortable doing. So it really helps the guys like Shenault and also Shark and Marvin Jones to an extent. But I think that the breakout receiver, this is someone that I mentioned like in an article over at for the Moody Fantasy Facts newsletter. Shenault was one of my 16 breakout wide receivers, and I was looking at fantasy points over expectation. It's like Shenault was just really, really efficient on the targets and touches, that he had last year. And so I think he's going to be able to carry over that success. New quarterback, offseason to learn. I'm like, he's going to exceed expectations in my opinion.
I like that. I like that. Really quick, if you want, I mean, the live chat is open. You can drop a link to your newsletter or how they can get information right there in the chat, so they can just get easy access. I mean, we're gonna shout out at the end of the show, but you know, you're helping me, so anything I can do to help you, brother, for sure. You know?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can give it a shout like towards the tail end.
Yeah,
but,
I just want to make sure we put it out there. We put it out there. I'm gonna go ahead. And I'm gonna do this one a little bit different style from you there, Eric. Shit, this is tough. I didn't realize how tough I wrote this question until I'm now looking at the question that I wrote. I don't know if you've ever done that. Like wrote a show sheet, like, oh wow. I'm gonna go Marvin Jones, just because you've been in the league for a hot minute, getting it done, Mr. Jones Jr. You know the NFL speed, and you know, honestly, pretty much any and every corner inside and out that you're gonna face. So I'm gonna go Jones Jr. I'm gonna go chart behind Jones Jr. And then G-Man J is gonna hate me. I'm gonna get so much flack on this for Twitter. But Chenault is still my wide receiver 3 in this offense, because I see him being utilized this year the way that he was utilized at Colorado. So a lot of those deep down the field passes that you guys may have seen, like, expect that coming off of like play action and jet sweep. So that limits his ability and his viability on the field. So I went a little X's and O's on that one, and that's why that changes my rankings. But as far as all 3 of these guys, I think they are all definitely draftable. I think that you should at least have some piece of this offense in some capacity, just because it is Lawrence and it's Urban Meyer coaching coming from college and coming into the NFL. You're gonna want to take chances to see what you got, to see what you can work with before, because you're not gonna be able to play conservative until you know exactly what you have. You come out the gate playing conservative, well, then you just wasted time. So that's where I'm at with that, at least in my mind. That's how I would coach an offense if I was Urban. Let's go ahead. We're going to get into the next question here, and that is, what's going to go on in Buffalo? The Buffalo Bills stampede, as I like to call it, that backfield. Will Zach Moss or Devin Singletary be the answer to this backfield, or will Josh Allen forever have to be the stallion?
Yeah, I definitely don't think Josh Allen will forever have to be the stallion. I'm like, with the season that he had last year, I'm like, he's still going to get his rushing yards, potentially his rushing touchdowns, but you just have to worry about some of the contact that he'll take if that continues. And the way he played, he's like, hey, this is our franchise quarterback. So I think he'll be a little bit more strategic with his decision making in that regards. But as far as the backfield, I just still see it being a committee. I know they wanted to use Zach Moss as kind of the battering ram, like in between the tackles. Like, he was kind of used in a similar role like that in college. Really excels like at yards after contact, that sort of thing. But then with Singletary's better off like in space, getting those receptions or certain types of runs that kind of put him out there, so he can kind of leverage like his agility, play speed, all those other intangibles. So I just still see it being a committee. The way I would approach it, like in a draft, is whoever's like the last man standing. I couldn't see the comment. I was trying to.
John's like, I like the horse impression because we call on our show reference Josh Allen the Stallion. And we're like, if you do it, it's a thing.
So going back to the backfield, I would just prioritize on who's available later, like in the draft. It's not one of those guys that I would personally reach for, but if Singletary's available, Moss is already taken, I want exposure to it, because the Bills' offense last year was one of the most productive offenses on a per game basis. My memory serves me right. I know they were top 5. I want to say that they were 4. So they were in the top 5. You still have all your major pieces returning, and so I'm like, I would just invest in one of those. So I still think it's going to be a committee. Hopefully that answers your question. I kind of went down the rabbit hole a bit.
If we're going, no, that answered my question. Like, put it this way: if we're in a league and we have 3 running backs, or we have 2 running backs and like that extra flex, and maybe we go 3 receivers or whatever the case, super flex style, right? These leagues with like crazy ass rules. I'm probably picking up Devin Singletary as my RB3. Like this is a valuable flex play. I have yet to have the confidence in Zach Moss. And I know that there's like someone's probably going to comment or like be in the comments later on when they rewatch this. They're going to be like, but you interviewed Devin Singletary. That's different. Look, yes, there might be a little bit of bias there. I may not be ready to let go. Okay. But I still think that he has a role and they drafted him for a reason. Maybe this offense goes offensive line heavy in the draft, which isn't a bad idea to protect Allen.
No, not at all.
They could go running back, but I do see this Rick and Morty alternate portal gun reality where, like, it's open up the portal and Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are still the guys. And you're still going to be asking yourself possibly during the fantasy draft come July, August timeframe when draft season approaches, which one of these guys I should take. And I think that Singletary is still that guy.
Yeah, but I can easily see them investing in the offensive line. I think this is a really good draft class for offensive linemen, like guards and tackles. So it's loaded, and so that's a really good opportunity for them to kind of reload. But they did draft Moss for a reason. But also, don't underestimate a player's progression from like one season to the next. I'm like, he's acclimated to the NFL. He knows what it looks like, and then hopefully, last season was insane off season just because of COVID. So I'm really curious to see the progression that he makes in this year. I think Moss will surprise a lot of people.
I am in agreement. This backfield is so hard. This backfield will always be murky as a crick in Virginia for you to try and navigate to when you're trying to dig for the right crawfish. That was a very Southern reference for you guys, and I apologize. I don't. That's just who I am. But still. Let's go ahead and our last and final question for this show. There was no way that we were going to go a whole show without talking about this. Bears and Dalton. And no, God, please, no, please. Andy Dalton is now with Bears as the quarterback. Allen Robinson as he's done it at a high level, no matter what quarterback or what team he's played for. He's played for the Jaguars and the Bears. What's your outlook? And could this be a negative effect for the wide receiver, Moody?
Yeah, I'm chuckling because the Bears, I'm like, with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, this has been a disaster for them. I'm like, they were unsuccessful, obviously, in their we'll say very aggressive pursuit of quarterback Russell Wilson. I think one thing with Robinson, and I'll kind of touch on Dalton, is that I'm like, Robinson has shown throughout his career that he can thrive with poor quarterback play. I'd love to see what he could do with like a quarterback that's at the level of like a Patrick Mahomes or an Aaron Rodgers. But like, he's still going to get his targets, so he can still be productive. But I think the expectation to have is similar to kind of what he's shown us in previous seasons. So Chicago, they're going to battle with the red rifle, which is fascinating. He did not look that great with the Cowboys last year, and so here's a prediction. Like, I'd be shocked, like, if the Bears, with general manager Pace, Nagy, if they don't trade up in the draft to try to get one of these upper echelon quarterbacks, just in case if Dalton implodes, because they're playing for their jobs. And if my job is on the line, if I'm an NFL GM or coach, do I really want success or failure? My success or failure dependent on Andy Dalton.
No. But like, if there is any organization that would do some shit like this, I mean, wouldn't it be the Bears? Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around this move, and I'm trying to tell myself that, Robbie, we're gonna hold on to Robinson. We're going to hold the line. And I'm like, no, we're not. I think this is the worst quarterback. Like, this is the most terrible quarterback that Robinson could have had, because we're not dealing with old school, young Andy Dalton and, like, when the Bengals were at least making a playoff game. we're not dealing with that Andy Dalton. We're dealing with like leftover Cowboys Andy Dalton. Like we're dealing with like the Bengals didn't even want Andy Dalton. Like we're dealing with Andy. AJ Green was turf toe. I have turf toe. I can't play. No, my toe. Like, and I don't know if like y'all have ever had turf toe. I mean, but you can get over it. Like you can like there are plenty of players that played the game of football with turf toe. Like, so I mean, I'm just saying this is bad. Like, if I have Allen Robinson right now, I am trying to sell him, and I am convincing the exact way that I'm typing this up is, hey, bro, do you want Allen Robinson? It does not matter who his quarterback has been. Look at what he did with the Jags. Look at what he's done with the Bears. You want this guy. Andy Dalton doesn't faze him. Goodbye. Like, if that's the way I'm sending that.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm like, with Andy Dalton, I'm like, if you're looking at not Dalton, excuse me, with Allen Robinson. I'm like, if you're looking at, let's look up this question. Do you think Andy Dalton dyes his hair redder? It seems like it's gotten more intensely red over the years. You know what? It would not surprise me if Andy Dalton, he probably does dye his hair. That wouldn't shock me.
Got that just from in.
Yeah, but with Robinson, I'm like, if you're drafting him like in a draft, it's I'm like, you're really drafting him for target share. At this point, it's just his ceiling is going to be lower, because of the quarterback play, unfortunately. But I still like Allen Robinson as a player. I was really high on him going into last season. It's still pretty high on him going into this season. It's just you kind of think about, what could have been. Only if we could have the multiverse in this scenario, right, Robbie?
No, exactly. You can have. It's like this Andy Dalton. Like early Andy Dalton was like when Hannah Montana would come out. Like all the kids love that. And now it's like Miley Cyrus that we're doing. It's like, oh my God, I don't know what you're doing. Like you're just off the rails. Like you just lost it. That's the way I compare it. So I mean, I'm moving on past Allen Robinson personally. Like I think I'm willing to take that risk. Like I can type up a good enough trade offer where I might come back with a top wide receiver, like something equal value. Like I could probably play that even kill.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is just my personal opinion. Let's see. Tino says Bears are going wide receiver in the draft. If they go wide receiver in the draft, then they have definitely lost their minds. The Bears need to move up and get a quarterback. Like the Bears need to move up and. I have a great idea. I'm a Washington football fan. We're projected to be able to get Mac Jones at 19. Bears, go ahead and get Mac Jones. That's who you guys need. You need Mac Jones. You need Mac Jones, the Bears. We'll go ahead and we'll take your pick, and whatever you're going to do, if the Bears are going to go wide receiver, we'll take Rashad Bateman. I'm down with that. So it's all going to depend on how things play out in April. Let's see. Anything else that you want to discuss, Moody, that you want to bring up fantasy football wise, or?
No, I'm good. No, we've had a lot of great questions. Good old Andy Dalton, Zach Moss, all these other players. So no, I am good to go, sir.
Hell yeah. Dalton's hair will get redder because he's going to be stressed out. It's going to have a tint of gray, so he's going to get that just for men to make it redder. Moody, where can the people?
That's funny.
Where can the people find you? What's coming out next from yourself personally, so on and so forth?
Yeah, no, it's so everyone hit me up on Twitter. I got my Twitter handle there at Eric N. Moody. I have the same Twitter handle pretty much everywhere on social media. So Clubhouse, I've got that same handle. Going to start doing a little bit more video items on Instagram. I'm like, you can find me there. I'm like, if you're on LinkedIn, even sync up with me that way. But as far as content, so I'll have a piece that'll be published at The Athletic. It may end up being early next week, possibly tomorrow. That's on just, I guess, winners and losers as a result of free agency. And I'm mainly looking at the players that were impacted, not into free agency transactions, but just as a byproduct of, say, Kenny Golladay joining the Giants. Obviously, it helps Daniel Jones, so I'm going to focus on just a lot of players that are on my radar there. But also, I encourage everyone, about a month and a half ago, I started a newsletter on a Substack at Eric N. Moody Fantasy Facts. And so it's given me an opportunity to kind of write about some things and kind of include different elements in the articles that I haven't been able to at other publications. So highly encourage everyone to subscribe. I've got premium subscribers there. You can sign up to be a premium subscriber or a free subscriber. So doing that either way, you won't miss any updates. But yeah, you can find me over at the Athletic. No, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, you got me, man. You can find me at the Athletic. I contribute at 4 for 4. And if you're a fantasy basketball fan, DFS, check me out at Rotoballer. So as everyone jokingly says, I'm all over the place.
Hey, you are though, but I mean that's what allows you to be able to be so fluid and have the many of different perspectives that you have. I think I have something that you may want to check out as a pretty dope resource for that article.
Yeah.
Like you'll like a twist that we put on free agency. We did a March Madness bracket on Tuesday. Nice. And we picked out the winners and losers, and like when you see how that shapes out, you're like, oh, that's a different twist. And it might make you think a little bit differently on your article, because it definitely made me think about pieces that I've been dropping and takes that I've been dropping.
Yeah.
But no, dude, I appreciate the hell out of you, Eric. Like for real. It's beautiful to see a brother like yourself step into the industry and pave the way for many others, and just show that hard work and dedication it can get us a very long way. Taking chances and betting on yourself, and just putting the email out there, the application out there.
Yeah,
exactly. You don't know what's gonna happen. So just taking those steps and striving forward, it's amazing. It's amazing to hear your journey. Make sure you guys check out the beginning half of the show. Check out that for more Moody fantasy facts. Check out the second half of the show where we talk some fantasy football as well. Check us out on the SportsMe app. Well, check me out on the SportsMe app. Check out many of your favorite industry analysts on the SportsMe app. Face to face, drop your takes. You can get a lot of different opinions. Check the temperature of different personalities and fans from around the world on different topics. Make sure you guys check us out there on getsportsme.com. Download the SportsMe app on both iOS and Android. Monkey Knife Fight promo code RUMBOYS, all caps. Check us out there as well. Other than that, cheers to me, cheers to you, all the Rum Boys and girls. What it do, Eric? I greatly appreciate you, my brother. To the Athletic, thank you for allowing us some time to borrow your writer. But we're gonna go ahead and let him back so he can drop some fire for y'all. Really, y'all.
I appreciate it. No, thanks for the invite. Hey, we'll have to do this again soon. So I guess as I always say, until next time, right?
Until next time, absolutely. Until next time, Moody, we will definitely be having you on, and I appreciate it, bro. Here's the outro. Yeah.